Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to today's HDI webinar, When IT Hits the Fan, Best Practices for Major Incident Management. Today's webinar is brought to you by Everbridge. If you experience difficulty with the webinar itself, you can get help by clicking on the green question mark. You can participate in the Q&A session by asking questions at any time during this webcast, and they'll be answered during the Q&A session at the end of the webcast. You can download the slides from today's presentation shortly after the webinar is over. There'll be a PDF of the slide deck available for you under the Attachments tab. Today's webinar will be available on demand shortly after the completion of this live webcast, and you'll receive an email reminder to let you know it's available. Today's featured speakers are Pete McGarrahan and Vincent Jeffrey from Everbridge, and we're happy to have them with us. Remember that you can connect with HDI on Twitter. You can join HDI chat on Twitter every Friday at 1 p.m. We'll be speaking on various topics throughout the year. We're on Facebook and LinkedIn, and our members are welcome to join us on HDI Connect at connect.thinkhdi.com. Pete McGarrahan is the Senior Director of IT at First American, as well as an industry expert and thought leader in global IT service management. He is the founder of McGarrahan Associates and has 30 years of business, IT, and service leadership experience. He enjoys sharing lessons and learned career experiences through published articles and presenting at industry conferences. He has received various industry awards and honors, including a Help Desk Institute's Team Excellence Award for his work with Taco Bell Support Organization, Top 25 Professionals in the Service and Support Industry from IT Support News, Legend of the Year twice at STI Knowledge Symposium and Help Desk Professionals Conference. He is well known in the support industry for his endless positive energy, leadership, mentoring, and advisory services, and we're glad to have us today, to have you with us today, Pete. And,
thank you, Roy.
You should take it away, sir.
Okay, sir. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us. We're looking forward to presenting to you different perspectives and practices around major incident management. So today, let me just get started in terms of giving you some of the best practices around this process, but also kind of giving you some insights into how we at First American have taken the practice of incident management and made it a real-time muscle memory type of activity for our organization that clearly impacts the business in a positive way when the business has been impacted in a negative way because of issues that are impacting its performance and service availability. So let's get started on that. I won't waste a lot of time here because Roy did an excellent job of giving you my background. I have 30 years of background, various companies in service and support. I got my operational experience at PepsiCo and Taco Bell. I worked with HDI for a while and STI Knowledge. I had my own company for about 7 years, and now I'm with First American as a Senior Director over Infrastructure Services. This is the experience that I will be sharing with you today. Over at First American, one of the things that we needed to realize was that it's not only just about the process of incident management handling around P1s and P2s, it's the important aspect of having the right team to focus in on this. And then the other component of it, as you all know, is having the right tools. So the integration of the right team, right people, along with the right process, and then enabled and integrated into the tool is really what has made us successful in the areas of service recovery management. Our team members are both onshore and offshore, both here at campus and then at our recovery site, our DR site in Texas. We have our SRM team is actually part of our data center operation team, reporting to a senior director under the name of Mark Galligan. And Mark and I have worked together for about 5 years. He is the gentleman that has really matured our service management offering, as well as our capability in our Service First implementation and the integration into the other monitoring and alert tools that we use. We are very focused on IT service management. I would say over 75% of our infrastructure people are ITIL certified. We have an IT service management team of process managers around the disciplines of incident, change, problem, configuration. And our mission of this team here, the service recovery team, is to minimize the impact of service disruptions to our business clients through effective management of high severity incidents. The effective management kind of takes multiple arms, and the multiple arms are around how we bridge and bring the technical resources at bay to figure out, troubleshoot, and recover. How we manage the business as well in terms of letting business senior people know about the issue and what we're doing to recover, and then just the general communication to all impacted employees. Our process flow is pretty high level here. It involves priority 1 and priority 2 major incidents. We have a number of groups that are involved in this whole process, not just our service recovery management team. We have our service desk, obviously, that is the front point of contact for impacted employees that are calling. They're working and coordinating with our command center, the recovery management team, and then we bring the technical resources and teams to bay on the bridge to do the troubleshooting and diagnostics and plan out the recovery. Those are the teams that are involved. As we log everything, not only from a manual side, but also from a automated fashion. We really work to ensure that all of our incidents and issues are logged and tracked and categorized and managed through the various stages and phases of the resolution process and closure process for analytics and reporting. We have fairly sophisticated KPIs and metrics around our P1s and P2s, and we have a problem manager that works with various groups to identify repetitive and reoccurring issues that are P1 and P2 and work down to troubleshoot the root cause and then figure out what we need to do to eliminate those altogether from impacting our business. But we typically follow this process right here, this high-level process in terms of the notification, the classification, the documentation, getting, if there's a third-party vendor involved, like in network support or our 800 offices that require network connectivity and bandwidth, and we're working with different companies like Verizon or AT&T, Cisco, all those companies, we require a third-party bridge to be opened as well. And then we work it through to the resolution and the closure. We found the benefits of service recovery that one, it gives us a discipline to manage and log all the incident and the details around that so that we could do data analytics and problem management. Also, we do knowledge article creation as we uncover different root causes and bugs and known errors so that the next time it happens, we have that documentation where we're not performing Groundhog Day, but we actually have learned from that incident. Our results are to reduce time, downtime on the customer side, on the business side. Our focus is to improve the time to restore and minimize the time of impact. So we look at that as well as a KPI. We're working to maintain high availability of technology services, and with along availability comes reliability and in addition performance. So these are aspects of the service delivery that are very important to our customer. We also want to ensure adherence to our procedures and policies because we've taken the time to document them according to best practice guidelines. We also train people on them, and we do some QA follow-up on that to make sure they're done accordingly. And then the detailed documentation as the problem is occurring, we make sure that we have of that. And then we could also transfer the incident or the major incidents along with the child tickets into the problem management record so that it takes all that information with it. And then we have that information in the problem management record as well. Our CSI, so continuous service improvement, an example of what we focused on was really looking at taking the time to document the incident well while it was happening, and then kind of go out and after the program was in place for a while and we had learnings just to really ask our customers that were part of the process what was working well and what wasn't working well. So we decided to really implement transactional customer surveys to find out how the customer's experience was in terms of how we managed that, how we communicated. We also kind of met with the internal team, and then we formed a review committee to look at priority one incidents that were severely impacting the business and work along with the problem manager to figure out a path to long-term resolution. Ongoing, we still take the data that we receive on a regular basis and we analyze it. A lot of what we do when the experience is bad or scores are bad is the manager is accountable for contacting that customer and recovering that customer experience and then figuring out where we failed on that service recovery and work to correct it. We do weekly meetings and we do recovery team reaching out to our business unit as well as to key IT people to make sure that we're getting a 360-degree perspective of what the customer perception of how we handle major incidents is. As all of you who are on the line that are ITIL certified or ITIL aware, you know that the priority matrix is really key to how you manage major incidents. So when you talk about a P1 or a P2 or priority, it's important that you know that the priority is kind of an algorithm or a calculated number based upon what you and the business have determined to be the impact and the urgency matrix. So or hopefully you have, and if not, coming up with this matrix is really key to the success of running a service recovery program. And the priority matrix for major incidents, P1s and P2s, you want to make sure that you understand what the business impact is of that service not being available to your employees or business customers. And so impact is the nature of what's being disrupted, what cannot be done because this service is not available. And then urgency is really around the timing of the impact. So for our organization, you know, we're mainly an hour of operation East Coast to West Coast. So our normal business hour of operation when we have the majority of our people and offices working is from like 5 a.m. to about 9 p.m. So 5 a.m. East Coast to 9 p.m. West Coast is when we feel the biggest impact is because of business hours of operation. So if we had a P1 during that time, that would be a high impact and a high urgency. If we had a P1 at midnight, let's say, the impact would still be the same, but the urgency is downgraded because there are not many people or business operations are not being impacted to the degree that they would be during business hours. And then the calculation or algorithm then is formulated through the priority piece, and that's determined based on where the impact and urgency is. So our priority definitions for P1 is a critical incident affecting the availability of performance of revenue-generating applications or business-critical services for a significant number of users. Our main application, our main money application is FAST, and if that's impacted in any way, that's a priority 1. Priority 2 is a major incident where performance of the revenue-generating application business-critical service is degraded or experience a partial loss of functionality. Potentially could be some workarounds that help us get past that. but multiple users are experiencing slowness with one of our applications that's for the outside marketplace, we would determine that to be a priority too. So one of the things that was important to us in terms of documenting the process flow, and the process flow, and I would say for anyone that is looking to do something similar to this, the important aspect of being able to develop it and mature it and really operate it is this whole process flow. So this process flow talks about end-to-end service, end-to-end picture of everything that could and should happen within the service recovery piece. But it's also segmented by a swim lane approach that says these are the activities and tasks that need to happen end-to-end in sequential order. And these are the teams that have a RACI responsibility. So RACI is responsible, accountable, consulted, or informed. But when you're looking at the swim lane approach to developing a process flow, the consideration is that you not only know what you need to do, you have to know who needs to do it. So there's some sort of accountable ownership of every one of these tasks in the process flow from beginning to end. And that's the importance of having a data flow or process flow with a swim lane approach that has accountable owners responsible for all of the tasks from an end-to-end perspective. As we started to mature the process, we did have communication challenges. So really, how do you effectively communicate P1s and P2s and the impact and workarounds to your customer base, especially when you have thousands of customers that are being impacted? Email, very pervasive, easy to lose. People get hundreds of emails a day. When they see the IT kind of name on it, do they really pay attention to it? Especially with a P1 and P2 and the decision to send frequent emails every 15 minutes or 30 minutes, the business employees kind of get tired after the fifth or sixth email. And what they came back to tell us was, in P1s and P2s, all I really want to know is that there is an issue and it's impacting the performance of this app. And then tell me when you resolved it. Don't give me 15-minute, 30-minute updates saying you're still working on it, you're still working on it. Just tell me that there's an issue and tell me you resolved it. So we did some refining and retuning of all that. Also, how much to tell our customer base in terms of what the real technical issue is and what they really care about. And then managing our bridges accordingly so that we have the right people on the bridge to deal with the technical aspects and then the right people on the bridge to deal with the business impact aspects of that P1 or P2. So we really started working on how we would do email, and so we got it down to 2 emails now. The business is very happy about that. We established a subscription kind of based notification system for key business leaders or officers or managers. And then we run 2 separate bridges to discern the people on the bridge, because business people don't care about the technical side, and the technical people need to be focused on dealing just with the technical issues of the bridge and not distracted on other things that might take them away from that root cause analysis problem management piece. This is our communication flow. So we have a communications person that's formulated all these wonderful templates, and there's an approval process that needs to go out that looks at who the audience is, what is the message, and what is the frequency. And so this is how we manage our communication process flow. And once again, it's a little simpler than the recovery management flow, and it should be, but we do still have the swim lanes of accountable, responsible owners in the communication process. Just various communication methods that we have. One is our command center hotline, and so this goes right to the command center for P1s and P2s. It's not the help desk that is customer facing, but really the technical way to get attention to P1s and P2s that are identified by the business customers before any type of alerting or anything has happened there. So a lot of what comes in here are more symptomatic than the actual problem itself. So we have a number of communication methods, including our major incident chat. And so we're able to bring members of our command center, service recovery managers, our help desk, our technical account managers, our senior management in IT, and our business relation managers together in a chat forum. We also have our bridge alert. So we, looking at Everbridge IT alerting as the kind of tool of choice there for organizations to bring that kind of communication method together. Same kind of thing, but a different purpose on why we would use that communication method over a chat. And then the other communication methods are around internal IT email alerts, namely open, update, resolved, and then also focus on the user communication. This is a very controlled type of communication. We have one person that has the technical or the authority to be able to send these out to various distribution lists within the organization. So we look at these various communication methods. We look at the different criteria around who we're communicating to, what the message of the communication is, and the broad audience in terms of what the impact is. So that's how we kind of determine what communication method we will use during a P1 and a P2. These are examples of how we send official-looking IT First American communications. One is on the alert side, and one is on the resolve side. So as I mentioned earlier, our business came back to us and said, please stop killing us with all these email status updates. All we really care about is 1 and 2. 1, there's a problem, and 2, you resolved it. So we simplified that considerably, and also the message of what we communicate so that it's really on a half an email, and people can pretty much in a minute see what's going on. One of the things that we did kind of, I think our telecommunication groups came up with it, and it was an awesome idea. As you know, with a P1 and P2, the opportunity to get a front-end message into your service desk for customers calling so that they're alerted to what the issue is, what the impact is, and what the last update is in terms of recovery, is that your customers are going to call in usually way before you're able to post that introductory status message. So what we've done is we might have during a P1 or P2 hundreds of people in queue, which is called a call volume spike. And it really creates a lot of issues having hundreds of people in queue and only a limited amount of help desk resources to be able to funnel through those calls. It drives up your average wait, it drives up your abandons, and it really frustrates the heck out of customers. So our telecom people really creatively took the message once we created it. So let's just say a P1 and P2 happened. It took us 5 minutes to get the root of what the issue is and the impact. We then verbally record the upfront message so people know what's going on. They know we know what's going on, and then they can determine whether they want to stay on or hang up or abandon. We now are able to play that alert message to all the people on hold that called in before we posted. And the first time that we did it, it was amazing. We had 500 people in queue. We could see them on the monitoring type of board. We put the message out there. The message played voicemail-wise, recording-wise, to all those customers in queue. And we watched 350 people positively abandon because they heard the message that affected them and they knew that we knew about it. And that was a great thing to do for our customers. The next one was working with our IT Help Center. So we have a social media portal, a self-serve portal called the IT Help Center. And we work to get our employees to go there first rather than calling. So we were able to create a chat feature online so people can chat with us versus calling. But more importantly, over here on the left side is an alert button. And so when we know there's an issue, we will take that same alert message and we will publish it on our IT Help Center. And so customers can go in there, they can click on that to see what the issue is. And then what's great about that is they see what the outage is, what the P1 and P2 is, and then if they're having a similar issue, they click right here on, are you having the same issue? And it automatically opens a child ticket underneath that customer's name to the master record of the P1 and P2. So now we have visibility of anyone that comes in here that wants to open up a child ticket to let us know that they are being impacted by that P1 and P2. And then when we recover and resolve, we can automatically communicate to them and make sure that they're recovered and up and ready. And then we also use that for a metric as well. We at the service desk, working in partner with our command center and our service recovery team and our IT service management team, really need to be involved and engaged in our change management piece. So we're very focused on relating any P1s and P2s to either unplanned change or change that's gone bad. So at the service desk, our managers are very involved in the weekly change management meetings and a change advisory board and the communication piece and making sure that we're proactively on top of everything that's going on with the environment that could potentially impact our customers, and we get the calls, we need to know what's going on. So the theme from here is if you're front end and your customers, you need to be in the know, and there's no excuse for not being in the know. You just need to take charge of that piece. Our continuous improvement efforts from all of our root cause analysis and problem management efforts, we've noticed that there was a repetitive reoccurring issue across the nation on bandwidth constraints and not having insufficient bandwidth around being able to do all the things we needed to do. So we took that problem, looked at the potential solutions, and really kind of fixed that through the various technologies now that we're able to do and using different channels in the communication method so we don't clog up one. Our automation piece wasn't doing what we wanted it to do, and it wasn't doing in a way that we wanted it to do. So we worked with that, our process automation team within our ServiceNow implementation, and now they're able to automate a lot of that manual effort for us as well. Also, we look at our content, and we continually go to our business customers and ask how we can improve our content, how we could summarize our messaging, and even more importantly, as I mentioned before, how can we reduce the number of communications that we're sending our business so that they just don't get lost or deleted, but they have some meaning and some updates and some valuable information for people. And also controlling the distribution list and notifications. We looked at that in terms of who the audience was, who really needed to know, and what did they really know, and if they could communicate out to their business customers for us rather than us do a global communication piece. And Roy, I'm going to turn it over to you so you can introduce Vincent. It's been my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Pete. That's a great overview of how your organization handles these things. And I'm sure that a lot of people will be poring over the PDF that will be available shortly after this webcast. As it says on your screen, a PDF of the full presentation will be available under the attachments tab shortly after the end of the webcast, as well as the webcast being available on demand for you. Vincent Jeffrey is the Senior Director of Product Marketing at Everbridge with focus on IT alerting and communications and the Internet of Things. He has over 14 years experience in the information technology business, designing, promoting, and selling enterprise IT operations management solutions, including critical communications, application performance management, and IT process and workload automation. He has an international experience in Europe and North America and holds a Master of Science and Executive Certificates from MIT Sloan School of Management. Couldn't get into a good school there, Vincent, huh? Got to go to MIT.
Oh, wow.
Thank you so much for being with us today. Take it away. It's all yours.
Yeah, thank you, Roy. And again, thank you, Pete, for this great overview on how you respond to major incidents at First American. Again, this was extremely interesting to learn how your service recovery management team leverages the right tool, like you said, the right people and the right processes to reduce the time to resolution and minimize the impact on your customers. You also talked about the importance of proper communication, both internally within the IT teams, but also externally with the impacted customers. And that's what I like to talk about now in the second part of this webinar, to see how proper communication workflows can make, and you'll see, everybody's life easier and can contribute to reduce the time to resolution. And we'll see how automation can also contribute to less firefighting, and we'll see how it can also protect your customer satisfaction. But first, let's have a look at what's happening when, like the title says, IT hits the fan. So what you see here is, once again, for whatever reason, one of our mission critical application is down. And that can be your revenue generating application. That can be any mission critical business services that you're running. So unhappy customers, unhappy users are starting to call into the service desk. This is, like Pete said, this is going to increase the wait time, but at the end of the day, this is going to increase the frustration of your customers. In the meantime, we need to engage with the right IT experts so they can start investigating the issue, right? And at one point, we may even need to inform stakeholders and the overall business on the potential impact of this particular IT issue on the business operations. And again, should that be in terms of revenue loss, if it's an e-commerce platform, if you are selling products or services over the internet and your application is down, if you're in the banking industry, if you're a SaaS provider, or if you're a managed service provider, but it also can be in terms of employee productivity. If your main system, such as your SAP system, your Oracle e-business system is down for any reason, this may impact your manufacturing capabilities, and workers may have to stop working. So this is impacting both. This can impact both revenue generation or employee productivity. And but the bottom line is, in today's digital economy, an unplanned outage is most of the time a business issue for the companies, and even the tiniest application can have disastrous impact on the business. Think about email. Email goes down for most companies today. This is a business issue. So since this is a business issue, there's a cost associated with those issues. And if you look on the screen here, you'll see that in 2016, and this is coming from the Ponemon Institute, so they tell us that the cost of an unplanned outage range from $1,000 per minute to more than $17,000 per minute, with an average, I took the average here, around $7,900 per minute. So the question is, this is so expensive, so what can we do to make a real impact on reducing the time to resolution? And in the meantime, decrease the number of inbound calls that we're seeing into the service desk. So this is what I like to talk about now. So what you see on the screen here is a typical generic incident management process. And as you know, if you're familiar with ITIL and ITSM, for us to be able to resolve an issue, we're going to need to be aware of the problem, right, of the issue. And that's what I refer to as the time to identify. That's the time to detect the issue, categorize the issue, and identify the issue. We then need to get the right people, the right on-call people together to collaborate on the investigation of this issue, so that they can isolate the root cause and put together a resolution plan to fix the problem. That's what Forrester refers to as the mean time to know, the time to know what's going on and put a plan together to fix it. 3 is going to be the time to fix. That means getting approval from the CAB, from Change Advisory Board, so that we can make the change in the production environment. And finally, the time to validate, making sure that the fix or the patch that we've just deployed into production is actually fixing the issue and that the system is back online. And what Forrester tells us here is that this second phase that they refer to as the mean time to know takes up to 70% of the overall time which is needed to resolve the incident. And the reason why this phase is longer than the 3 others is that companies have invested a lot in tools and processes, in automation as well, so that the time to identify today is pretty short, because they have monitoring tools like application performance management, network performance management tools that can detect issues even before users feel the pain. Same for fixing issues with release automation solutions, and automated testing can also shorten the time it takes to fix and validate. But there's very little that is done to automate the time or the processes to reach out to people, to get the right IT experts together so they can start investigating an issue. And that's what I like to share with you right now. I like to share with you the best practices and the few easy things that you can put in place and which are going to help reduce incident restoration time, which is going to also help reduce the number of inbound calls into your service desk, which in turn will also reduce the unplanned IT work and ultimately will reduce your IT costs. So the first best practice is about the definition of what a major incident is in the context of your business, in the context of your company. And Pete already talked about this in detail. So again, you have now all the tools to really categorize what a major incident is, based on urgency and impact. The second best practice, or second recommendation, make sure you assess the business impact of each mission critical application with the business. And what you see on this on the screen right now is the relationship between the mean time to restore, so that's basically the time it takes to resolve an incident, and the maximum time available for resolution. Pete talked about the revenue generating application at First American. I think the name of the application was FAST, and he explained very well that between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. these were the business hours, so that any major incident during this time frame would be a very important, very critical incident. Now, after 9 p.m. On the West Coast, they would have more time to restore the service without impacting the users that much. And that's really what the point is here. Get with your business and assess the time that is available for you or for the IT team to fix an issue before it really impacts customers and the business. The best practice number 3, you should create a major incident response team. It can be virtual, or depending on your organization, it can be always the same. But usually the team will include members from the different IT teams. Do you need, based on the nature of the incident, do you need network engineers? Do you need application support people? Do you need a DBA to be on this restoration call? Do you need people from the middleware team, server infrastructure? Do you need a server admin? Do you need an ERP support technician if you are running SAP? If you are running the IT operations in a hospital, do you need third-party vendors such as your EMR vendor, and so on and so forth? Identify what resources will be needed depending on the nature of the incident. You most likely will need someone from the service desk, someone from customer service, so that they can communicate updates to the customer which are impacted. Someone from the change management group, maybe an IT service director, and don't forget, for many of the incidents, you will need third-party vendor technicians or IT specialists. And the recommendation is to define what resources will be required on those restoration calls, and for those, you should assign a major incident manager to deal with the coordination and the communication. The best practice number 4. Pete talked about how critical communication was in the resolution process. And you should build a communication strategy in advance, in preparation for your next outage. Think about who will be contacted. You will need to contact your IT experts so they can work on the issue. You may want to identify the stakeholders, senior management that may be also informed of an issue. Your impacted customers, who are they and how are you going to reach out to them? So how will you be communicating? Is email enough? Remember, if people are not at their desk, they may be out for lunch, they may be in a meeting, they won't receive this email. If you need people to react upon notification, you may want to consider text or SMS or voice or text to voice instead of emails. Mobile application push notification can also be an option for reaching out to people ASAP. Then you need to think about what content will be communicated to whom. Notification template. You don't want to be writing down the message once the incident has already occurred. What you want to do is, in advance to the outage, you want to prepare notification template. So it's just a matter of sending the template, the notification when you need. Think about the escalation process. What if the person that you need to be working on an issue are not available or not responding? They may be on vacation. Make sure you know who the next available person is on the list. So know who's on call. Another thing that you should be thinking about: how and where are you going to keep this information up to date? The information about who's available and where they are, and how best to reach out to them. Is it text, SMS, and so on? So where do you keep this information, and who's going to keep it up to date? And Pete gave us a great example about communicating to the stakeholders. How often will you be communicating during the crisis? And that's something you should talk about with your business. Do they need to know there's an issue and that the second notification is about when it was resolved, or do they need to be updated every 15 minutes or every half an hour? So again, communication strategy is critical and should be done in advance. Best practice number 5. We've talked about stakeholders. So a recommendation here is identify stakeholders, because stakeholders may be outside of the IT team. If we take as an example here a cyber attack, let's say we are under a cyber attack which is leading to a data breach. It's most likely that the IT security team is going to be tasked with investigating the issue, but then quickly, if we find out that there is a data breach, we will have to notify upper management and maybe sometimes the CEO, up to the CEO, and most likely we're going to have to contact the legal department and the marketing department so they can already craft a press release and so on and so forth. So what you see here is, depending on the nature of the incident, you may need to consider stakeholders that are outside of the IT department. So that means you need to find a way, and you need to know how you're going to reach out to them at any time, even if it's 2 a.m. on a Sunday morning. How do you reach out to the chief marketing officer at 2 o'clock on a Sunday morning? Best practice number 6. Pete already talked about this one. You may want to have 2 conference bridges open for your when dealing with major IT incidents, for the reason that Pete explained. You don't want to mix business people with IT people. The only goal that the IT people should have during this restoration call is fix the technical issue. And we don't want our technical resources to be disrupted or distracted by business questions. So have 2 conference bridges open, 1 for your IT experts, 1 for your stakeholders and senior management. Provide the collaboration tools so that everybody is using the same system for communication so we don't miss information. And think about how you're going to contact your IT expert. Is it going to be a manual notification, which is going to be sent by someone or some team, or is it going to be automated, an automated notification sent from your ticketing system? So, for example, if you're using ServiceNow or BMC Remedy or Hit Software, so on and so forth, you can also use your ITSM, your ticketing system, as a one pane of glass, even for communications. And or your IT expert may ask that they be notified as soon as a major issue is detected. That means the capability of sending an alert or a notification to those very targeted people directly from your New Relic, your AppDynamics, your Dynatrace, or any other IT monitoring tool. And so these were the 6 best practices and recommendation that I wanted to talk about today and discuss with you. So again, if I want to summarize here, what you need to do when responding to major IT incidents, make sure you know what a major incident is in your organization, in the context of your organization. And this should be agreed upon with the business. Assess the business impact. See how this is going to impact customers and the business operations. Have a major incident response team ready to go as soon as a P1 or even a P2 is identified. Define your communication strategy upfront, so no one is going to panic when under the fire of a new incident. And have 2 virtual crisis rooms available, one for your IT experts and one for senior management and stakeholders. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is that there are companies who decide to go ahead and to build this kind of solution, or there are solutions on the market, available on the market, and one of those is Everbridge IT Alerting. And I'm just going to give you a few words about the solution. So IT Alerting by Everbridge is an all-inclusive IT communication solution which provides unlimited global voice and SMS. It provides intelligent notification templates. It manages on-call schedules and rotations for your IT experts. It automatically manages escalation, should that be functional or management escalation. Ongoing business coordination and updates are also a feature of the solution. you can get people on a conference bridge in one click, so they don't need to enter any passcode or any phone number. It integrates with most of the ticketing systems with certified integration with ServiceNow and BMC Remedy, delivers 99.99 through uptime, and provide a full set of RESTful APIs for integration with any tool that you may be using. And with that, if you'd like to get more information about this solution, you can visit the website at italerting.com. And with that, I'm going to thank you for joining this webinar. And Roy, back to you.
Thank you very much, Vincent. Great overview and great words from both of you about what happens when something critical happens. So really appreciate that. We do have some questions to get to. I would like to remind everyone, please rate today's webinar. It's very helpful going forward to know how we did and if we're providing you with the right information at the right time. So please give us a rating before you depart. And again, I'll remind you that a PDF of the full webinar will be available very shortly after the live webcast concludes, and also that the webcast will be available on demand within the hour after the conclusion. So check back just to the same page. Okay, and now on to some questions. This is for Pete. Do you create a major incident report, a separate document, or do you document the MI updates within the ticket? If a separate document, what does this document look like and how extensive and detailed is it?
So, Roy, I think if I understand the question correctly, we open up a major incident, a major parent ticket, and then we track that major ticket all the way through to the resolution and closure. We also, as I stated before, attach children ticket to that in terms of impacted customers reporting their impact or being impacted of the issue. And then that major incident ticket or record then gets produced into a report. And then that report is determined whether that would go into kind of a problem management review or a senior management review, depending on the clarity of the root cause, the length of time it took to recover, or the reoccurring repetitiveness of that nature of the incident.
Great, thank you. This is also for Pete. Does your service desk use voicemail as a channel of communication for reporting issues or requests? I think what that means is, do you send outbound information to people's voicemail? Vincent, you might want to chime in on that as well.
Yeah, we do not. We actually had the idea of doing kind of an outbound notification voicemail response to it, and our business declined to have that only because a large portion of our business handles voicemails from their customers who they're working with on the whole title piece and package documentation for their escrow mortgage, and they just would rather not have us become a part of that.
Okay, this is again for Pete. What level of ITIL certification does your service recovery team have, and what about the manager of the team?
So the managers of the team are, I believe, at the practitioner level, when all the team members have to have the ITIL version 3. I guess it's the basic level of ITIL 3 certification. And they're also encouraged to take other ITIL-related courses based upon the discipline or the category or area of service management recovery. We also broaden a lot of our education and training outside of the more ITIL ITSM practices, and there's a technical kind of tool component to their training. And then we also do kind of soft skill or professional training as well, especially around the art of communication.
Great, thank you. This one is for Vincent. What is the name of that global communication solution?
So the global communication solution we talked about is called Everbridge IT Alerting. If you want more information, you can just visit italerting.com. And related to this question, I'd like to make a comment on the previous question about what communication channel does your service desk use. What we see actually is that organizations are using different communication channels depending on who they want to reach out to, right? So for, let's say we have a P1, we're going to need and want to reach out to the right on-call people ASAP. So email usually is not the preferred communication channel because you don't know if it was received. You don't know if people are actually at their desk and can receive this email. So in this situation, service desk will prefer SMS, voice, or even mobile application push notifications. And what you want to do here is have a way to receive notification from the recipient that they actually have received the notification. And the second thing that we see is that one notification is not enough. What service desk organizations are doing is they set up a cycle. So basically what's going to happen is I'm going to try to reach you on your cell phone using voice. If you don't answer in 1 minute, I'm going to send you a SMS. If you don't answer, I'm going to try again on your work phone, and so on and so forth. So I can set up cycles to make sure that you're going to receive the notification at one point. And if you don't, after a certain period of time, then what they do, they usually get into escalation. And we're going to be looking at notifying the next person available or the management, depending on how you want to set this up. Now, for stakeholders and senior management, we see a lot of SMS with one-click ability to join a conference call. So you receive an SMS, and if you want, you click on the link, and you are on the conference bridge. And for customers, usually emails is enough, or many organizations decide to update their customers through a web page or a status page on their website.
Great. Thank you so much, Vincent. Pete, and just this will be our last question. We're coming up just having a little bit over a minute left. Can you explain the various meetings you mentioned, internal SRM, peer review, major incident review, weekly meetings to review lessons learned? How long are the meetings and who attends them?
So when we first started, the meetings were long and painful. And one of the things that we recognized that we needed to do was to kind of leverage some basic meeting etiquette, effective meeting pieces. So over a period of time, we've gotten it down considerably. The people that are regular attendees kind of know the drill. There's an agenda, there's a meeting facilitator, there's a note taker. There's a list of things that they need to go through. So it's become quite efficient. I got to believe we've reduced the amount of time of that meeting by about 50% just through the use of good meeting etiquette and effective meeting skills.
Great. Thank you so much. Just a few closing notes here. Our next webcast will be on August 16th, Understanding Dependencies, Better Service Through Configuration Management. And that will be with Ryan Ogilvie, an ITSM consultant, and Joy Su from BMC. BMC and Brightstar will be sponsoring that webcast. Thank you so much. This webcast is copyright 2016 by United Business Media. The presentation materials are owned or copyrighted, if that is the case, by HDI, which is solely responsible for its content, and the individual speakers are solely responsible for the content and their opinions. Thank you again for attending. Don't forget to rate us. See you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.